Jury deliberations are expected to begin in the Donald Trump hush money trial, and we're in a bit of a news stasis period where everyone's waiting with bated breath to figure out exactly what's going to go on in this trial. Now, of course, there has been what some are describing as veiled threats or a veiled threat, but it's obvious. You had a guy from the New York Times basically say that if any one of these jurors decides to give Trump a hung jury, they will be Steve Bartman on steroids, which is a funny reference. For those that aren't familiar, this is the guy who was long believed to have ruined the Cubs' chances at winning the World Series in 2003. It's kind of a crazy story, but basically this dude's life became a living hell because he tried to catch a foul ball, and Moises Alou was reaching for it, about to get it, and he blocked him. And this was just some regular guy in the stands who had no idea what was going on. That's the argument they're making. If you do not convict Donald Trump and you are the one holdout, they will come for you. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. Everybody is murmuring. The news industry is now just frozen. And this is the funniest bit about it. You've got commentary, you've got commentators, but you've basically got all of these writers just sitting there clutching their pens like nothing is happening. That's why we're bringing you a special live stream this morning to go over exactly what's going on right now, but to potentially have any shocking updates should they come in. I don't believe that while we're filming this live segment this morning, we're going to get a verdict from the jury. Instructions are going in, and I believe at any moment the jury will begin their deliberations. But what we're seeing from this is the sheer desperation of the Biden administration, threats against the jury, and I think there's a good probability Donald Trump does get convicted on this, and it's laid out perfectly in this veiled threat that may, I don't believe it was intentionally a threat, but you can't go blasting that stuff out, because that's how people are going to take it. You know where the lines are, and you know where not to step outside of. But let's do this. We're going to read the news here from NBC. Jury deliberations set to begin in Donald Trump's criminal trial. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. And as always, hey, we're going to do it on the morning show. We got castbrew.com, Ian's Graphene Dream. That's right. If you want low acidity dream coffee, it's available at castbrew.com. And don't forget, head over to timcast.com. Click join us, become a member, and come hang out in our Discord server. You'll get access to our uncensored members-only call-in show Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. So that'll be up later tonight after Timcast IRL. But let's read the news, and then I'll take super chats from all y'all who are watching live. We have this. Jury deliberations will begin Wednesday morning in New York prosecutor's case against Donald Trump. The first criminal trial involving the former president. You, the jury, have the ability to hold the defendant accountable, Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass told the panel at the end of his 4.5-hour closing argument Tuesday. Now, what's really interesting here is that, and everybody already knows this is going on, the prosecutors were allowed to say a whole bunch of crazy things, and the judge wouldn't overrule any of the moves that were, he overruled all of the objections made by the defense. So one of the issues was that the prosecution basically said it is campaign finance violation, but the judge would not allow the defense to bring on an expert witness to testify that it wasn't, under the argument that, well, if I do that, I'm going to have to let them bring in their expert witness. And then everyone's arguing about what is or isn't a campaign finance violation. So, no, we won't do that. But the prosecution's allowed to say that it is a campaign finance violation, but the defense is not allowed to say that it's not. Absolutely amazing. You know, we had Kash Patel on. We recorded that show on Saturday, and we had him. So we aired it on Monday with the one with the president. And he's explaining how he's in the courtroom and the judge is yelling at a witness. And the witness was a former federal prosecutor, just confused as to why the judge is yelling at him, because the whole thing's rigged. Here we go. The deliberations will start after State Judge Juan Merchan delivers his instructions to the 12-person jury on the laws it will need to consider as it decides the historic case. His instruction is expected to take about an hour. Manhattan DA attorney Alvin Bragg's office has charged Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business records relating to a hush money payment his attorney Michael Cohen made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the closing days of the 2016 election. So let's go through all of that for those that aren't familiar with exactly what this case is. So they claim that in 2016, Donald Trump paid Michael Cohen, 2016, Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels so that she would not report that she had had an affair with Trump some years prior. And then Donald Trump in 2017, after getting elected, paid Cohen back because they had actually conspired to do this to unjustly affect the election. And then so it was a felony. It was a misdemeanor. And beyond the statute of limitations, as bringing the case now. And I say it's a criminal conspiracy because Donald Trump was attempting to corruptly influence the election. You have to bear with me. I'm having some streaming hiccups. So it's throwing me off a little bit because I'm trying to make sure everything's working properly. But let's try that again. Michael Cohen pays Stormy Daniels that claim. Trump conspired with him so that it would help him win the election. In 2017, after winning the election, he falsifies business records to try and conceal that crime. Even if that was the case, even if it was the case that Trump did falsify business records personally, it's a misdemeanor. It's beyond its statute of limitations now. They're arguing it was to corruptly influence an election that he had already won because it's the only way to bring the case now. It's nonsense. Not only that, but Trump truthed earlier that he has the defense of relying on counsel, that he's talking with lawyers and saying, here you go, like do your thing, and then paying his legal bills. Well, let's read a little bit more. They say the DA's office was able to elevate the charge, typically a misdemeanor, to a felony by alleging the records were falsified, with the intent to conceal another crime. Steinglass suggested Trump was trying to cover up a number of crimes, including violations of state and federal election laws. Trump attorney Todd Blanche told the jury, President Trump is innocent. He did not commit any crimes, and the district attorney has not met their burden of proof, period. He argued the records weren't falsified because Trump wasn't reimbursing Cohen for the Daniels payment. Instead, he was paying for general legal services because Cohen was Trump's personal lawyer at the time. Steinglass called the account jaw-dropping, noting that Trump had previously publicly acknowledged having reimbursed Cohen. Cohen was prosecutor's key witness, and Blanche told jurors he couldn't be trusted because of a history of lying. He's literally the MVP of liars. Steinglass acknowledged that Cohen had a history of lying, but said he'd often done so to protect Trump. Trump's attorneys were trying to use those lies to undermine his credibility is what some people might call chutzpah, Steinglass said. The trial began with jury selection April 15th, blah, blah, blah. Trump faces 4 years in prison. I do not believe Trump will get any prison time. In the event he actually does get convicted, what is most likely, in my opinion, to happen? Ankle bracelet, home confinement, Trump Tower. Some people have suggested maybe he'll go to Mar-a-Lago. I do not believe they would allow him to leave the state. They'll say, you've got a residence here. We're locking you in Trump Tower. No campaigning. You're done. Here we go. We got a bunch more. This is from Jonathan Turley. This is from last night. And there's a few things that I think are important here that we'll read in the closing arguments. He says Steinglass is continuing to instruct the jury and was again stopped by the court. Steinglass just reminded them that they can find the New York election law violation with any of the 3 claimed crimes, and they do not have to even agree on which. I love this part. So 4 can find a state election violation, 4 can find a federal election violation, and 4 can find tax violations, and it will still be treated as unanimous verdict. So if they all disagree on what crime they think happened, they will convict Trump anyway. Let me clarify this for you guys. This is the prosecution saying, you might not think Trump committed a crime here. Like, I don't even know where to begin with this. So a guy's accused of jaywalking, stealing a pack of gum, and assaulting a guy. It doesn't matter which one he actually did. It's unanimous if you think a crime was committed, period. It's supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt. You're supposed to be able to sit down and say, we all agree that a crime was committed beyond a reasonable doubt. They are quite literally saying, this is absolutely incredible, my friends. They are saying that if you all disagree on the crime that was committed, who cares? We'll just say he committed a crime anyway. You all agree a crime was committed? It's not exactly what I thought was going to happen, but it's close enough. My thought process was in the closing arguments, the prosecution is going to say something to the effect of, you know what Trump has done. Or it's you. Think about everything you have heard about this man in the courtroom, and think about every single time you heard that he committed a crime and harmed and wronged this country in the courtroom. The point being that they're basically saying, for the love of God, please convict this man for any reason. It doesn't matter if he's actually guilty. Now they're saying you don't even have to agree on what the crime was. Just if you think there was a crime, say he's guilty. It's absolutely insane. Steinglass said Trump got his trial and the law is the law and there is no special standard. Yeah, there clearly is here. That's a wrap. So this morning, Jonathan Turley back in the courtroom says the judge stated he wants to stay close to the standard instructions. The problem is that the case is anything but standard. We'll be looking for some of the outstanding issues, particularly on the standard of proof for key elements like unlawful means. Yesterday was chilling as the judge allowed the prosecutors to engage in what some of us view as highly improper arguments. That included effectively testifying on facts not in the record. Merchan's view of argument was considerably broader for the prosecution than the defense. For the prosecutors making objections, the strike zone seemed like it stretched from dugout to dugout. For the defense, it seemed the size of a postage stamp. I tell you, my friends, I want to reiterate that point from the closing arguments. This is one of the most significant in this case that breaks down the corruption and evil that we are facing and understand where our country currently is. By all means, you can laugh and say, ha, 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 Tim thinks civil war is possible. I don't know exactly how that manifests or what could happen. I can tell you this. When they are outright saying to the jury, even if there is no unanimous verdict on the crime committed, so long as any of you can agree that there was some kind of crime in any area, it's a unanimous verdict on these charges. This man is accused of jaywalking. If you don't agree he jaywalked, if you think he might have stolen a dollar, stolen a pack of gum, or pushed a guy, that's good enough for us. Say he's guilty of a crime. Amazing. Now, I will clarify. What they're claiming is because this crime is an underlying crime, which is requiring a secondary crime, they said, by all means, make up the secondary crime so long as it fits this misdemeanor case, which is beyond the statute of limitations, will be held against Trump. Absolutely insane. Now, where does this country go? Kash Patel told us with the show we aired on Monday, if Donald Trump goes to jail, he wins overnight. And I kind of agree. When Fareed Zakaria of CNN says this case would not be brought against anyone whose name was not Donald Trump, that's CNN. They hate the guy. Yet here we are. If they really, in their sheer panic and desperation, try to lock Trump up, it will backfire in their face so massively. But I don't know what this means for this country. I've got to say it. Well, forgive me, everybody. Forgive me, because I know it's going to be the fourth time I say it. But I need you to understand what Jonathan Turley is saying. That the jury is allowed, as per the closing arguments, to not be unanimous on a crime committed by Trump, but that they will determine it so anyway. So four jurors are like, well, we don't think he actually. What they're basically saying is, so long as a law exists on the books that is tied to secondary crimes, they will charge you, and any crime you have ever committed warrants the first crime to be unanimous. It's insanity. Now, as for those threats, oh boy, I hope you're ready for this one. Byron York, quote tweeting Kenneth Vogel of the New York Times. Vogel said, if Trump gets a hung jury, a typo, a hung jury mistrial because of one juror, Resistance Twitter is going to turn that person into Steve Bartman on steroids. Now, he edited that tweet and changed it. I think he realized what he had just said publicly. And that is, Steve Bartman. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Bartman. I remember this like it was yesterday, despite the fact it was 21 years ago. I was hanging out in my living room on the south side of Chicago. We were all losing our minds because the Cubs were inching towards a World Series win. This was a league pennant win, so it wasn't the World Series just yet, but it was getting them to it. And Steve Bartman was sitting, near the field, and there was a fly ball. Moises Alou ran to jump and catch the ball, and Steve Bartman fumbled with it, trying to catch it himself, thinking it's a foul ball and it's going to be mine, blocking Moises from catching it, which would have given them their second out. I believe it would have been their second out. They were leading 3-0. It would have put them 4 outs away from winning. And after that, holy crap. When that happened, it was like instant demoralization, and the Cubs let 8 runs in. This dude, Steve Bartman, was just some guy who tried to catch a fly ball. He had no idea what was going on. His life became a living hell for years after this. There's the infamous photo. Man, do you guys remember this stuff? They're saying that any juror who does not convict Trump will live like this guy. Yo, people were like, this guy was getting death threats. It was crazy. The Cubs hadn't won a World Series. They hadn't won a league pennant since 1945. And everyone blamed him. Not because it was truly his fault. I mean, the Cubs let 8 runs in. But because he basically centralized all of that anger of defeat right onto himself. And it was brutal for him. Apparently the aftermath was, people started, look at this. They say Bartman was not widely recognized until afterwards. He started getting calls on the cell phones, on his phone, because they watched it on TV. And he had to be escorted away with security. Cubs fans had insults and threats. Some were death threats. One fan dumped a cup of beer on him. Security escorted Bartman and 2 people who accompanied him towards the exit tunnel. News footage from the game showed him surrounded by security as fans pelted him with drinks and other debris. Bartman's name, as well as personal information, appeared on Major League Baseball's message boards minutes after the game ended. They doxed the guy. 6 police cars gathered outside his home in Northbrook, Illinois, to protect him and his family. Afterwards, then Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich suggested that Bartman join a witness protection program, while then Florida Governor Jeb Bush offered Bartman asylum. And you think it's funny. Like, yeah, asylum and witness protection. They ain't kidding. There's probably some jest in there being like, maybe he needs to join witness protection. But people were actually threatening to kill the guy. That's what Vogel just said. If Trump gets his hung jury now, the context matters, because a lot of people are saying Vogel was threatening the jury. I think this matters a lot. The Bulwark Trump legal team pins hopes on a hung jury. The article that he linked is basically about a juror who looked at Trump. Not kidding. Apparently, there was a jury member who looked at Trump, and they think that signifies he may be the lone hung juror who blocks this conviction and gives Trump a mistrial. If Trump gets a mistrial, you know what they're going to do? They're going to bring the case right back. They're going to say, let's go again, baby. Let's stop Trump from being able to campaign. They will be relentless. This is an insane political tactic. Why would they stop now? You know, many people are saying that it is patently absurd that they would try such a technique against Donald Trump. Yeah, I agree. It's looking like it's backfiring miserably, and it's helping Donald Trump. Why keep going? They've got nothing. That's it. They've got nothing. Biden is Skeletor. Well, that's not fair. Skeletor was strong. He's some kind of lich monster, frail and fumbling and bumbling. He's given us such classics like Trinidad Shabbat Pressure, Batacaf Care, Next Nail Rescent, and Pack Adalac Clack, whatever that was, like the Mars Attacks guy. Those were things Biden has said. I don't see how this guy wins. Immigration's a major issue. The libertarians just put in a progressive leftist as their candidate. That's going to siphon more votes away from Biden. So they're probably thinking, well, Putting Trump in jail may not be working. It may be helping him win. But maybe if they put him in jail, they can make it impossible for him to win in some way. I don't know. Maybe something happens to him. I have no idea. So if there's a mistrial, someone's chatted double jeopardy. If there's a mistrial, it's not double jeopardy. Mistrials often will get retried. They'll say we have a hung jury, we have a mistrial, so we'll hold the trial again. However, in some instances, the judge could just dismiss the case with prejudice, meaning it cannot be brought back, and then you would have double jeopardy. In this instance, if we get a hung jury, I do not see why they would just abandon this. These people are relentless and desperate. You know, and I warned this over the past couple of years. The death throes. The death throes, and this is when, in desperation, an individual begins thrashing around violently. A person who is drowning splashes violently. That's why they say, if you are going to rescue someone who is drowning, you have to be very careful. You need to approach them from behind and grab them because they will push you down and drown you both in panic. Yep. What I see here with the Democratic Party and the uniparty establishment is the death throes. In their panic that they are losing control and power, they will begin to thrash around violently. They will burn this country to the ground before they let Donald Trump have control. And this is the current state of where we are. I don't know what else to I don't know what else to say. I mean, if it comes out that they're going to actually put Trump in jail or try to, maybe that bolsters his polls massively. But I just got to say, I mean, maybe there's a special desperation, but I wouldn't underestimate the political rivals here. I wouldn't underestimate it. Some kind of shadow campaign. In fact, this could be a distraction. Who knows? Waste all of our time. You know what would really surprise me? If they unanimously return a not guilty verdict. The crisis here for Democrats is that if the jury unanimously says not guilty, Trump's approval rating will skyrocket, Biden's will tank. The jury coming out and saying, this is nonsense. I don't see that happening. It's getting wild out here, man. It's a special day. That's why we're doing this live. Because, well, to be honest, we're waiting for these jury deliberations. So what we'll do now, my friends, as we're at the 23-minute mark, we'll grab some super chats from all of you. And maybe we'll throw in a bonus segment on top of this one and crank out some segments. But I'll do this. We're going to start our poll, as we like to do. 1 like equals 1 FJB. I wonder if YouTube gets mad that I do that. Yeah, so we'll smash the like button, become a member at timcast.com, pick up Ian's Graphene Dream Low Acidity Coffee at castbrew.com. You know what I was thinking of doing is, and I'd love to do this, would be to do a morning live show. And we tried this before. It didn't really work out. That's the problem. The idea was to do a morning live show and then pull segments from it like we do with Timcast IRL. Unfortunately, it didn't work. What ended up happening is we did a long morning live show, and then the viewer counts for the... So if I record the morning show in segments, do like 22 minutes, 10 to 20, 10 to 20, then each of those gets 100 to 200K, sometimes more. Yesterday, we got 400,000 on the first morning segment. And that's huge. And that, you know, you get a boost in the algorithm, you get more likes, you get more revenue. And so what we tried doing was, what if we do a morning show that's an hour and a half long and then pull the segments out like we do with IRL and upload those later in the day? Nobody watched them. So it ended up spiking us in the algorithm, lowering the view totals, and it was just ultimately bad in the long run. Unless there was some way to do a live show that could pick that up. I don't know exactly how to do it, but that'd be beneficial because then we could do morning producer, 5 stories. We'd get more segments out. We'd wrap the day an hour earlier than I normally do, or like 2 hours normally. Could probably do a longer morning show, but it did not work. It did not work out. But we'll grab your super chats because we're doing the special morning live. And Mute Barbecue says, Tim Pool is the hardest working man in journalism. You know, makes me jealous sometimes. I look at some of these other channels and they'll, like, people who do substantially less work get substantially more views. And it's tough. It's like, man, I do feel like I have to grind 10 times harder to be able to maintain this level compared to many others. But that's just the way it is sometimes. Life is not fair. Perhaps if I was just hardcore right or left wing, then you'd capture the larger market shares. But, well, it is what it is. But yeah, morning show and night show is particularly rough, When I wasn't doing Timcast IRL, I'd finish, because I was doing 6 segments, Timcast and Timcast News. By 4 p.m., I had the rest of the day off, like every other normal human being. And then I'd be like, let's go see a movie. Let's go grab dinner somewhere. Let's go hang out, play video games. Now it doesn't exist. Now it's morning show, exercise, dinner, nightly show, Monday through Friday, forever. But I appreciate your super chats. I appreciate your support. Ryan asks, how hard is the right going to beat the brakes off the left in a civil war? And can we nuke the liberal cities? No, you can't. And I will tell you, look, the conservatives who think that, we're going to win a civil war. Dude, it depends on who China supports. I'm not kidding. China is going to enter the war. Like in all wars and all conflicts, foreign interference will get involved, and that's all that matters. I do have already another segment prepared. And this is far leftists calling for civil war and threatening armed revolution. Yep, that's where we're at. Threatening armed revolution. So they're claiming they want to buy more guns. And so this is what I was talking about with doing the longer morning show. So for everybody who ends up watching the full version, the full morning show, what happens is if I would normally get 200,000 on a segment because no one's seen it, the 75,000 that watch the full morning show, like let's say I get like 200,000 on the full morning show, that means that one viewer counts for all of the segments. So if we break the show up into segments, then one viewer will appear on each segment, and then it'll be 4 views for the channel instead of 1 view. And that really does matter, breaking it up that way. All right. Bomb Chew says, I'm a carpet cleaner, and I've had 2 old ladies this week bring up the Dr. Phil Andy No interview. People are waking up. Incredible interview, by the way, for those that haven't seen it. Andy No breaking down the threat of the far left. Gonfall says, I'm ready anytime to be your guitarist, Tim Blackpill. No, I think the idea of the black pill lacks moral and philosophical clarity. There are dark periods throughout life, but they're never sustained. It's ebbs and flows, my friends. So even on the darkest of days, there is something good that comes eventually. Strauss-out generational theory, good times, hard men, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. Good times, strong men, hard times, weak men, whatever. Totally backwards, but I'm just referencing it. You get my point. Let's see. The Matrix Hasme says, it's all an effing joke. The comedian mocking this process is the best choice. Also, any improvements coming to the Android Timcast app, would love to see some of those bugs fixed. We got to get on it. We are, man. You know, they get people coming being like, how would you like investment? And if we had investment, we could probably then bring on like some high-class corporate guy. I'd be willing to bet that if we went the Daily Wire route, brought in some, you know, like an actual CEO guy, paid him a bunch of money, brought in some investors, we'd probably grow massively and then theoretically begin to rival the Daily Wire. We're in a different market. There's an overlap, of course, but our overlap is probably like 60 to 70%, and there's like a bit of overlap that's not there. Or I'm sorry, there's a bit of market share that's not there. And that's why the Daily Wire, of course, wanted to work with me. They wanted to expand market share. But I just don't see it in the cards. I don't see it in the cards. I think Daily Wire's cranking in like 250 million per year, some ridiculous number. And I don't know. Probably not for me. Not for me. Joseph Laliberte says, just wanted to say my first child was born yesterday at 4:19 a.m. He couldn't wait 1 minute. How dare you, good sir? How dare you vote Trump? Congratulations. Congratulations. We'll grab a couple more here. We're reaching the 30-minute mark. Jason Dixon says, Tim, can you please promote the Discord? We are doing great things in the Discord. Ladies and gentlemen, what is our mission? Win a culture war. We believe in meritocracy, personal freedoms, individual liberty, the power of the nuclear family. These things are considered to be largely conservative, but it's nuts because growing up, they were normal in a liberal household, but the left has gone insane. So we want to make sure we have a stable, functioning environment. And that means hard work comes along with all of the joys, but we have to have a balance of short-term and long-term satisfaction. The left seems hell-bent on only short-term. How do we win? Well, building culture isn't the only way. You need to build community. So over at castbrew.com, we sell coffee. Why? We've actually been working to set up this coffee shop forever. It's like we're at a year and a half of trying to get it going. It is frustrating, but we're past the permitting phase, the drawing phase, and a bunch of work is getting done. Finally, the difficulty we were having was with contractors who would start and then stop and then start and then stop, and it's a nightmare. But still a lot of work has to be done. And the goal with selling coffee is it's the cheapest point of entry for physical locations where people can hang out, have a cup of coffee, talk about things. When you meet your neighbors, you guys network. You might be like, hey, man, I'm really good at swinging baseball bats. And the other guy's like, I'm really good at throwing baseballs. And you're like, dude, you can throw the baseball. I can hit it. I'm kidding with that analogy. My point is complementary skill sets. You meet someone who's a great artist and you're a great writer. And you're like, what if we teamed up and made a cool comic book? There has to be a way that people can organize and they have to know each other and network. In the meantime, while we await our physical location, you can go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, and join the Discord server where there's a bunch of different chat rooms. People are collaborating. There's morning shows. There's after shows. People are making friends. People are meeting up. People are finding relationships. That's true. Because that's what networking is. This world we are looking at right now, what's happening? People are breaking apart. It's becoming the Matrix. No one's going out to the mom and pop shop anymore. They're sitting at home all day. There's a chart talking about people. They're saying, hey, sugar intake is stable, but obesity is skyrocketing. And they're like, it must be our food poisoning us. It's got chemicals in it. No, it's the internet. We used to have to walk to the store. Now we pull up an app and DoorDash. We used to have to walk to our friend's house. Now we just put on our headphones and play video games online. We used to have to walk to the train, get off the train, walk to our office. Now it's remote working. We are burning less calories. We need to reverse that trend. We as humans must resist the matrix by making sure we move physically and talk with each other, lest we find ourselves living in the pods and eating the bugs. It just so happens that when you join the Discord server, that's the function of supporting all the work that we do at Timcast. So timcast.com, click join us. Let's go. Jason Dixon says, I can drop 25 Bitcoin to buy 15% of your company. I'd like to take chief operating officer. I can make you profitable in 6 months. We are profitable. So there's a few things to consider. One of the challenges we have in terms of Timcast IRL's margins is that we are reinvesting everything. We have people working on a bunch of different projects. We've got a card game that's a bit currently underway. It's revamped. It's called Debate Me. And we think this could be massive in the secondary market. My shows, like this morning show, is basically paying my salary. If I didn't do anything else, I could work mornings and the show is massively profitable. And then, of course, the Culture War show is also a licensed tenant media and massively successful. So we're doing well. The issue is, specifically, if we wanted to expand the way the Daily Wire did with new hosts, quadrupling our membership and stuff like that, it would require taking on strategic, skilled, high-level C-suite officers who are dedicated to nothing but that administrative corporate world. That being said, let me do the math real quick. Let's crank this one out because I can give you guys some insider information. So 25 Bitcoin is wait, why is it not working? What is that? 1.6 million? Really? Wow. I would probably estimate this company If I had to do an evaluation based on revenue and we were basing it the way they used to do tech evaluations, it's tough. I'll level with you guys. I'll be transparent on this one. It's going to piss a lot of people off. I'd say if you wanted 5% of this company, it would probably be $50 million or more, And the reason is I have 100% control of everything. I have no boss. Do whatever I want when I feel like doing it. Just happen to work a lot. And we are an 8-figure revenue company. So so people have come being like, we want to invest. And I'm like, yeah, you're talking $50 million for 5%. Like, what does that mean? It means we're $1 billion company? Don't know, don't care. People will laugh at that, but it's really this simple. Evaluations can be a couple of things. In a public traded company, it's how much people are willing to trade a stock for. On a privately owned company with a large revenue stream, the issue is specifically how much is someone willing to part with something for? And the answer is, yeah, there's no way I'm ever selling a piece of this company for any reason. Maybe some other companies. We can certainly, we are working towards expansion in terms of, what is it? People are saying it's 5 million or what? A zillion? 25 Bitcoin? Just 1.6. People are saying that, SCNR is we're putting a bunch of money into an expand, and we took investment in there a long time ago. The company is being restored. There's certainly an opportunity for investment, and SCNR is effectively it's a separate brand that we are building up. So there's always opportunity there. So someone says WTF 50 million for 5%. Yeah, it doesn't mean that the company is actually $1 billion company. It means this. If someone came to you and you had, let's say you rebuilt from scratch, like, I don't know, I'm not a car guy, but like a 68 Mustang or something. I don't know. Is it a car? You rebuilt it from scratch. You went to the junkyard every day. You worked 12-hour days to rebuild it, polish it. And then someone came to you and said, I think that car's worth $100,000. I'll buy it off you. You'd be like, never going to happen. And they'd be like, well, dude, honestly, a car like that's not really going to sell for more than a few million, if that. And you're like, I want 20 million. And they're going to be like, never. I'm like, well, then I'm not selling it because I don't want to sell it. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying there's no way someone would want to pay what I would want to have actually give stuff up. Daily Wire guys were awesome. It was a great conversation. We had a great conversation about investment and stuff. And ultimately I was just like, I can do whatever I want, but here's what we'll do. Someone says 1 Bitcoin is $67,000. 25 Bitcoin is roughly 1.75 million. The other thing people need to understand is, I have a lot of Bitcoin. So I have a lot of Bitcoin. Yeah. But, okay, here's we're going to company talk. Well, look, this is an extended morning live stream. You don't need to listen to it. I did this because we're in the stasis period and we're waiting for the news to break. So you get a 40-minute live stream instead of the typical 20-minute morning segment. So I'll wrap it up there, though. And I do have, of course, a bunch more segments coming up. We'll talk about, on the left, calling for armed revolution. Yeah. But that'll be coming up. The next segment will be at 1 p.m. Maybe we'll have some updates on the verdict. What I like to do is I usually like to have the 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. segments be big stories of the day. 10 a.m. is like, here's the big hit this morning. 1 p.m. is here's our developments. And then 4 and 6 p.m., the other segments we do, are usually more social and more culture war-y, right? Less important. So that's why... like yesterday, we did the AI segment because we want to mix things up a little bit. But we'll wrap it up there. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for your support. We are going to be back at 1 p.m. on this channel. And I don't know, maybe I'll do another live stream or something at some point. And then, of course, we always are back for Timcast IRL. Thanks, guys, so much for hanging out. And we will see you all at 1 p.m.